Good afternoon. You change. Oh, there okay. We want to thank you. You know what? We're asking everybody to sit on this side because Ensana Mechi is showing you. Yes, so that we're all together. Into Obiabaha. Now, they should go and sit over there. Kwesi, please be in charge of making sure everybody sits on this side. And this side. Please and thank you. We're going to get started. Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon program. I hope you all had a great lunch. Everybody else didn't enjoy the food. Hey, I don't want to do anything. Hey. Okay. So this afternoon, we're going to be continuing the conversation that was started last night. Who was on the Zoom link yesterday? Good. How did you find it? Was it helpful? Was it educational? Good? Excellent. So we're going to continue with that conversation this afternoon. And I want to first of all thank the education team, Josephine, headed by Josephine and her team, for organizing this very important discussion that will inform our young people as to what else is out there. Okay? As you know, my name is Ruth, otherwise known as Sugar D. Dr. Love should have been doing this because you know I'm not funny, I'm not the entertainer, but he is not here today. So I have to fill his shoes. I need you to help me. Okay? You know I'm very shy. So you have to make sure so everybody is laughing and everybody is engaged. The same way that Elvis would do it if he was here. Okay. Do we have all the young people here? I feel like if this is for the young people, then everybody should be here. Please do. We won't start until they're here. Are they? We have some guests amongst us, so we want to show them some love and give them some attention. We want to show them that Heritage is the best church in the whole wide world. And so you need to be on your best behavior so they can come here more often. You know, the Bible says that my people perish for lack of knowledge, right? We're here to gain some knowledge today. It's up to you to use that knowledge to your advantage. We like to complain. Young people will like to complain. That's the truth. And all of us like to complain. But now we have no excuses. If your church is providing good education, good information, then you need to make good use of it. How many of you have ever thought about starting your own business? A few of you. Okay. Have you started the business or you only thought about it? Have you started your business? In the process. Amazing. So today you'll get more information to get you further. Josephine, you wanted to start your own business? What were you going to do? Oh, okay. It's a secret business. Secret business don't work. All right. But you know, Sometimes we get very nervous about starting business. We think that it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of work. Actually, it does take a lot of work. But if we just think and we get nervous and we don't start it, nothing will happen. Or unless, you try the business and it wasn't working, you were waking up and your parents were seeing you at home and like, hey, just go and be a doctor, go and be an engineer, go and be a nurse. That is a stable job. But not everybody's cut out for that. And as Agape told us last night, the world is changing. It's no longer the nurse, the social worker, the that. Young people are making money. The other day, a few years ago, I went to London. I went to England to see my family. And my son wanted to come with me. And I said, I'm not paying for you. He said, Mom, don't worry, I'm paying for myself. And at the time, he wasn't working. I said, Andrew, where did you get the money from? Where are the young people? Kwesi. He was doing crypto in my house, and I didn't even know my son was doing crypto and getting money from it. So, young people, there's a lot out there that we can get ourselves into. But you know what? Today we're going to learn some strategies. We're going to learn some ideas. We're going to learn from the experts. The young people that have done it and made some mistakes along the way. But hey, life is not perfect, right? So let's meet our panelists today. We have the pleasure of meeting, who do I start with? Let me start with Abigail. So Abigail, let me see. Who is Abigail? Abigail Adu. So everybody here is Ghanaian. So it's nice that we have our own people doing it outside so they can come and tell us that we can do it. So Abigail is a Toronto-based real estate and mortgage profession with over 10 years of experience. You see her like that, don't you? She's a big woman. She is known as a trusted resource in her community, using her online platforms to consistently educate others on real estate, mortgages, and wealth building strategies. She's a proud Ghanaian. She's a faith-driven entrepreneur, and Abigail combines her personal journey with professional expertise to empower others to build generational wealth and take action with clarity. She's passionate about helping others unlock their potential, navigate challenges, and walk boldly in their God-given purpose. Amen. Let's give a round of applause for Abigail. They say that behind every man is a... They say behind every man. But beside every man, in fact, leading every man, the truth be told, go. We have Ian. Ian is also a Toronto-based tax practitioner, real estate agent, business strategist, over 10 years serving individuals, families, and people across the Toronto area. He's known for his calm, problem-solving style and deep understanding of numbers. So me, I had to do my GCSE. Actually, you guys, you don't do GCSEs. It's like O-levels. Maybe the Ghana people know. In Ghana, we do O-levels. Yeah. I'm not good at maths. I had to do my O-level twice in maths before I even got just a minimum pass grade. So, Ian is your numbers guy. He's a financial problem solver. He built his foundation on providing financial education to empower others' understanding of numbers. His expertise encompasses tax planning, grant writing, and business development management, guiding clients to not only meet their obligations, but also to build sustainable financial systems and strategies. So the leaders of this church should be friends with Ian. We're trying to build the church, the sanctuary. He is the guy you should be talking to. He has money. But he knows Maybe his money is for him and his wife and family. He might share a little bit, but he's somebody to know because he may know how to get funds to help to build the church. Ian is passionate about making financial literacy accessible to everybody. And outside of work, Ian is a proud music lover. He loves music. As you can see, we have lots of musicians here, so come join the singing band. Or the choir. Hey, please, what's the difference between singing band? They're all singing. Singing band, choir, they're all singing. But he used to be a DJ. Used to be. And he likes, what does he like? Amapiano tunes. That's how you say it? Amapiano? Amapiano. That's the one that's like. All right. Round of applause for Ian. Thank you for coming. Okay, next panelist. I'm sure some of you know him. If you don't all know him, is Junior Ofori. Junior is a member of our community, a member of our church, so we know him well. Junior is a dynamic individual with a passion for empowering others to achieve their full potential. With a background in sales spanning over a decade, Junior has honed his skills and expertise in driving business across strategic sales tactics. He's a business coach. Me feel saying you're not listening to me. I need some love and attention. There's people talking outside. I want you to hear this because he's Yabanono. I want you to hear about Junior. He is a business coach. He is an entrepreneur. And he is the latest author in town. Well done, Junior. We're so proud of you. Junior continues to make a profound impact in the business world, shaping the next generation of leaders and achievers. Well done, Junior. Final but not the least, your very own Ellen Anani. Ellen, you may not know. And she's like, Auntie, do I have to tell people? Yes. She needs to let you know what she does so you can make good use of her talents. If you didn't know, Ellen is an independent contractor for British Council. You may want to ask her later what that means. What does she do at the British Council? She's an important person. In fact, those people who do those exams when you travel, right? The English exams. She coordinates that. She teaches people. She marks people. And she says the exam is very difficult. She's also the co-founder and creative director of AQ Edu Consult. She didn't tell me what that means, like what job that is, but can I say what it is? A little bit. She helps people. Is that good enough? Okay. She also is a newly licensed mortgage agent. Right? This woman is going places. You need to look out for her. More. She also runs her own hair business. Yeah? Look at her beautiful hair, all natural. She makes hair products. So if you need to grow your hair, let me see who needs to grow their hair. Pastor Melchizedek, the three musketeers, Pastor Melchizedek, Mr. Jumo, and Elder Kwame. Please see Ellen for some hair products. Ellen has traveled. She loves to travel, and she's traveled. How many countries do you think Ellen has traveled? 3, 7, 5, 10, 25, and going. 28 different countries. And she speaks fluent English, fluent Tree, fluent Mandarin. Go on, Ellen, say something in Mandarin. Go on, say something. Ni hao. Ni hao. She speaks Thai. She speaks a little bit of French and a little bit of Spanish. Isn't that amazing? I told you, she's going to be working for the United Nations soon. Oh, and she used to work for the United Nations, beg your pardon. So she is passionate and she loves giving back. She is a woman that's going places, and I'm saying we need to get to know Ellen. Thank you. Welcome, all of you. Okay, now let's get into why we're here. Let's ask them some questions. I'm going to start with you, Abigail. Abigail, we've heard about all of your accolades and everything that you're doing. Let me start off with, was that what you wanted to do growing up? Like, what did you want to do when you were growing up? And everybody has some story.
Hi, everyone. So growing up, I wanted to be many, many things. And what I realized is that it's never just one way. And whatever God has in place for you, it will end up happening. Why I say this is because for me, I was actually always raised around entrepreneurship. My mom started her own salon when I was the age of 9 years old. So at that time, I actually kind of got into sales and marketing without knowing, of course. I was the girl that was handing out flyers, getting my mom so many clients through my little speech that I would give around. And then eventually I went to Carleton University for public policy and public administration. And then I realized that I was always business minded, but I'm like, you know what? I think I want to do something that's actually gonna make a difference a little bit quicker, because if you know the government takes a really long time for anything to change. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think that's gonna be for me. So I went back to York University for human resources. Went to York University for human resources, and I graduated, and I was a human resource consultant. As I was doing that as well, I was also co-founder of a company called Beauty and Brushes. We were developing a tech company, an app during that time. So doing a lot of different things. Then my life shifted dramatically in 2019. 2019, my parents were trying to close a house, and I was working with a mortgage agent at the time that didn't really know what he was doing, and basically almost helped us lose our house. And that shook me completely. And I said, that's not gonna happen to anyone around me again. So I went and I got my license. I became a mortgage agent because I was a very determined person to know that I'm not gonna let this experience that I went through happen again to anyone that I know, or especially my family. So I got my license, and then shortly afterwards, I'm still working as a HR consultant. And in the background, I actually always wanted to be a real estate agent on the side. Why I say on the side is because I was investing in real estate since I was 19 years old. But I'm like, you know what? When I'm buying my houses, I don't want to use a real estate agent. I want to put the money in my own pocket, which is great. But the tough part about it was that I started writing my exam in 2017, and it took me 5 years to pass. And it was like the hardest thing for me to understand, because it was like, I wasn't dumb. I was a university student. I didn't understand why that was happening to me. But I know that looking back now, God does everything for a reason, because he was planting seeds in me, and he was preparing me to be the agent that I am today. So people look at me like, you're overnight success. I'm like, no, the work that I did behind the scenes, the practical knowledge that I got is what made me where I am today. So fast forward 2019, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna become a real estate agent part-time only. I wanna have my stable job because, I was an HR consultant, just graduated, had a good job and everything, and I wasn't ready to let go of it. But God was like, you know what? Nope, you're gonna go. You're gonna go. And I'm like, no, I'm okay yet. I have my stable job. I can do this on the side. November 25th, 2019, I got the call from my boss, and she said, I'm so sorry, we have to let you go. And it was the hardest thing because my boss really liked me. I still have an amazing relationship with her today, but it was just that COVID was happening, COVID was about to start, and the company was restructuring, and I was one of the youngest people that was getting paid a pretty good amount. And they're like, you know what? You have to go. And at that moment, I thought about it, I'm like, what am I gonna do? I have no job, no financial stability at the moment. I still had my business at the time, but then fast forward 3 months later, I stepped away from my business as well too. So I lost my job, I lost my business, and I felt like I had nothing. And I said, God, what is happening? And it's crazy because during that time, every time I would think about going to apply for another job, something would tell me, no, focus on what you're doing. And this is when I started doing something called Mortgage Mondays on Instagram. And I was educating people, educating people. Wasn't getting paid, wasn't making money, but I was educating people. And everyone's like, oh, wow, you're doing so good. I love what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm broke. I'm broke. I'm not getting paid, right? So it was really hard for me, but then God's like, keep going, keep going. And I was studying for my exam. I was still studying for my real estate exam because I wasn't an agent at that time. I was only a mortgage agent. So it took me about a year to get my first mortgage deal. So 1 year, no income apart from the government of Canada. And that happened. And then eventually, 2021, March, I got my real estate license. And I became a real estate agent. And honestly, it was an amazing year for me. So
Wow.
that was my story.
Thank you. What a journey. I don't know what you got out of that story, but I heard perseverance, and I heard resilience, and I heard listening to the voice of God, right? Sometimes we want to push ahead, move ahead, but you were listening to God's voice. Thank you. I'm going to go across to Junior. Yes, I'm going to jump in and come to Junior.
All right.
Junior, we met you when we first came to Canada.
Right.
You were in high school.
Yes.
I didn't think you'd be who you are today. Not that you couldn't, but that wasn't when I saw you.
Right.
So what happened after high school? How did you get to where you are today? I want you to encourage our young people.
It's actually, this is a moment because this is a full circle moment for me. Auntie Ruth was the first person to actually explain to me what an entrepreneur was. And at that time, I just kind of assumed that it was one of the things that British people just say when they describe business people. I didn't really know what an entrepreneur was, but I started a business when I was 16 years old. You asked the question to Abby, what did you want to be when you were younger? I actually wanted to get into ministry. I wanted to be a pastor. That was something I always wanted to do. My first experience with business was when the internet started to boom. This is when dial-up kind of died out and high speed became a thing. So I started doing a lot of things on eBay, buy, trade, started doing sneakers. So I started buying, selling sneakers, and that was my biggest hobby at that time because I was obsessed with sneakers. So what had happened was in my neighborhood, there was people that obviously lived in my neighborhood who didn't want to go to the next neighborhood to buy sneakers. So what I would do is I would go to that neighborhood, I would buy the sneakers and I'll buy hats, and I'll come to my neighborhood and I'll sell it to the guys in my neighborhood. So the first time it happened was I had a pair of shoes that I had purchased for $60, and I went to the guy around and he looked at the shoes and he said, "How much are these?" And I said, "I'm not selling them." And he's like, "But I'll buy them off you." And I said, "Really? $100. And he bought them. That was it. That was the moment. After I realized that, oh, you can do this. And I just kept on doing it. I did it for till the time I was 18, till we met, and you told me about entrepreneurship. And that's when I really started to engage. I got involved in a telecom and energy company by the time I was 18 years old.
Right, yes.
Right when I graduated. Did really well in that company, just like Abby, very similar. My first year, I didn't make no money. My first year, I was going meetings to meetings, I was pitching, I was doing it all, and I didn't really make anything. But what had happened was perseverance, just staying in the business long enough. At that time, I ended up becoming a regional director in that company, the youngest regional director in the whole company, with a $4.5 million business under me at that time in 3 countries that I was pretty much regulating. And that was the moment when I realized, okay.
Guys, I think that deserves a clap.
And then obviously through that, you build a big network.
Yeah.
And then more businesses, more opportunities tend to come from having those channels and those networks.
Yes, networks. We're going to come back to networking. Agape talked a lot about networking yesterday. So we'll come back to networking. So let me jump back to my friend Ian. Ian,
Yes.
shall I ask you the same question? What inspired you to start your business?
Well, what inspired me actually, I wasn't always in accounting and finance. I actually started off in customer service and sales. And if you ask me, that's like a boot camp for social skills. Like you're always in people's business, asking them, why do they don't want this, or why didn't they take the extra large fries, whatever the case may be. But the person who actually really inspired me was my mother. My mother was a teacher back home in Ghana, but when she came in here, she got into the Canadian banking system. And after working in the Canadian banking system, she would always, because she was a teacher, I don't know if you've ever been a child of a parent as a teacher, but everything's a teacher moment. I'll ask mom, where's the socks? And she'll give me a lecture about responsibility or something like that, right? And so, because of that reason, the synergy between educating people and being inspired by something in the banking system eventually became a desire, this urge to always want to teach something. And awkwardly, I always wanted to teach people how to build wealth. And that's kind of where I started. The multimedia company that Junior was in, I actually was a part of that company as well earlier on when it first came over from Montreal to Canada. And I was always looking for a way to figure out how to educate people. And then what ended up happening one day is that I realized that the easiest way for me to get into it was maybe through doing accounting and taxes. There was an older friend of mine who, I was waiting at a bus stop one day and he came by, and at that time he was driving like an all black Acura TSX. And I don't know if you remember the TSX, but back then it was a fire car. Like it wasn't like everybody driving BMWs and Benzes now. No, TSX was the car. And so he just pulls up and he's like, Ian, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm waiting for the bus. He's like, oh, hop in. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So I get into this car, nice all black car, leather interior. And so of course you're gonna ask him, what do you do? So I turn to him, I'm like, hey, what do you do? He's like, I just do taxes. Taxes, okay. And that was it. I started researching. I started realizing that it was very transactional. It was an easy way for me to get in front of people. And when people would get in front of me, traditionally, they would normally just get their taxes done. They wouldn't really have the build of the relationship and the education. So when I started adding the education and the relationship piece, it just worked. But it didn't work right away because at the time I was still very, very young. And I don't know if you guys know, but being young and trying to manage people's money doesn't really work well. And so...
And being black too.
And being black as well. So what ended up happening was that I had partnered with another older uncle of mine at his office. Some people may know him. And for years, I literally sat in the corner of that office as clients walked in and out to the point that people didn't even know I was there. Even now when clients come in, they're like, oh, have you been working with Uncle for long? I'm like, yeah, 10 plus years. Like I remember you in 2012 when you walked in and you walked right by me. And now it's like they come to me now, right? And so the experience was just that's how I got to my calling. And now here I am.
Here you are.
Yep.
Thank you. Ellen, why are you laughing? You're nervous. Okay, let's find an easy one for you. Ellen, I met you, a couple of years ago? And since I met you, every day you surprise me with, Auntie Ruth, I'm doing this. Auntie Ruth, I'm doing that. How do you get the energy to do all that you do and do it so well?
Energy. Okay. So let me start with why I do what I do or how I got into what I do. The first business I set up was my study abroad agency, which is the AQ Edu Consult. I noticed that Ghanaians love to travel. And I remember I love to attend seminars. In one of the seminars, the presenter said that if you identify a problem and you do not find a solution to the problem, you are part of the problem. And it stuck with me. So
I want you to repeat that again.
if you identify a problem and you do not find a solution to the problem, you are part of the problem.
Okay.
So I noticed that Ghanaians love to travel, and most of them do not do it the proper way. They would come into the UK, no status, just, yeah, you be hustle, you know? So I'm like, okay, how can I help Ghanaians travel legally? And I had some people reach out to me. I know for those of you here, new from Ghana, you have friends back home, just reach out to you. Hey, Mami Sumim Brabia, something like that. So people would try to reach out to me. I used to help people apply for schools, and I love research. So I would do their thesis for them. I would also do the SOPs, review their stuff, just so they can get into school. And then I sat down and went like, I love doing this. I don't mind doing it for free. Why don't I make it into a business? If I know you, I'm going to do it for free for you. But if I do not know you, I could charge you for it. And so I started that with somebody else that he has more patience. I'm not that patient. So I needed somebody who balances me out. If somebody asks me a question that you can find on Google, I'll be pissed. So I'll send you to him so he would explain to you and then you come back. So I partnered with him, and then he was more on the ground in Ghana because he grew up in Ghana. So he knew people, he would direct them to me, and then we started that. I also noticed that most of the schools had Nigerian reps. The schools that have reps, they're all Nigerians. So I'll go to them and listen. I am Ghanaian. There are some Ghanaians who want to come here, but they have Nigerian reps, and they're speaking to them in Naira, or go to Abuja and submit your passport. So if you want the Ghanaian people, I am your person. So I signed contracts with the schools, and then that was when I started my study abroad business. And then the next one was the British Council. I used to work with the UN. I was an ambassador for UNICEF. And so UNICEF took us to China. While we're traveling, teaching English in China is a big thing. Pastor Andrew, you know that. So while there, I saw that they had preference for people with British education, and most of the people were like Americans or South Africans. So I walked into the British Council, like, okay, I have my degree from the UK. I could work for you part-time. So I started part-time with the British Council. At some point, I said to them, okay, I want something flexible because I love traveling, and I don't want to be tied to a place. The UN takes you traveling, so how can I do that? I could consult for you. And then initially it didn't go well, but they were like, okay. So eventually I had my way with the British Council to consult and train their new hires and all that. So that's that about the British Council, also remote. And then the final thing is the hair. I love hair. I love my hair. I love everything about hair. And I love healthy hair. So I did a lot of research about hair. And I remember one night when I got here in Toronto, somebody asked me, if I give you $100 right now, what would you do with it? And I could not answer him. I said, okay, give me a few days. So I thought about it. I was like, I think I'll do something hair related. And then he's like, just do it. So I was like, do what? He's like, anything hair. So I researched into it, and I said that, okay, I know that there are a lot of products in the market, but everybody's hair is different. And so my idea of the hair business is to make it more like a hair clinic. You come to me. I need to do your hair porosity. I need to test your hair, see how it absorbs moisture and all that, and then I'll make something for you, curated for you. And that's how come I got into
the hair business.
yes. So that's where I get my passion, my energy.
So you get your energy from the hair business.
No, from the love that I have for doing these things.
Okay.
I love hair.
Great. So the theme that you're hearing is love to help people. Every single one of you talked about, I want to help people. I want to make sure that they're elevated. It's not that this is what I have. I'm going to keep it to myself. I'm going to be selfish. You know that saying that when your hands are tight, nothing can go in. But when you open it, there's a lot that can come in. And so with you four, you use the gifts, the natural gifts that God gave you to help other people. And in so doing, God has helped you. So there's God, you relied on God in everything that you did and are doing up to this point. You relied on perseverance. You didn't allow challenges to put you down. You take advantage of your natural skills, right? And this is what we're talking about, is that you don't always have to say, Manko School. But God has given everybody a gift. And this is, to our friends that have recently traveled here from Ghana. When I go to Ghana, I think Ghana must be a country of entrepreneurship. Everybody is selling something. And I say to Elvis, this lady is selling boiled eggs with a shito in it. Why? But anyway, the next person is selling the same thing. The next person is selling the same thing. I'm like, how are they making money if everybody's selling the same thing? But everybody has their own customers. They have their own experiences with people. So entrepreneurship is within our blood. So if you've just come from Ghana, there is something that you can do in this country that will work. Next question. In your business starting, I'm sure it didn't start just like that. It came with challenges. All of you talked about some of your challenges. I'm going to go to Abby. Abby, tell us one of your most difficult challenges and how did you overcome it in starting your business?
I think one of my most difficult challenges is the thought of imposter syndrome. Why I'm going to say this is that, when I was studying for my exam, for real estate exam, I didn't understand why I couldn't just pass that second exam. I didn't get it. I felt like a failure. But understanding that I was looking at it like a failure, but it was just a redirection that God was trying to take me through, because he was trying to make sure that I learned certain things before I got that certification. And for me, I think another issue that I also had was not seeing a person that looked like me in my industry that was gonna also help me or teach me or give me the blueprint along the lines. So when I first got into real estate, and before I even became an agent, I was always researching. I was around a lot of Indians, to be honest, a lot. And I was the only black girl in the room sometimes. I remember a point where I was there and they thought, oh, are you the secretary? And I'm like, no, I'm here to learn as well too. And I made a promise to myself, said, everything I'm learning in these rooms, I'm gonna take it, study it, and come back and bring it to my community. And that's what I did. And that's when Ellen said, when you see a problem, be the solution for it. And that's what I wanted to do for myself. So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Sometimes you're the only person or the only person that looks like you in the room, but that should not put you off. Junior, what about you?
That's actually a really great question, because when we talk about business, there's levels to business and there's moments and seasons to business. Let me explain. The challenge that I had when I started business versus the challenge that I have today is completely different. The challenge that I had when I first started a business was just simple: consistency, focus, show the plan, get customers. Those things are very different than the challenges you have today when you've been in business. When you've been in business, the challenge is now, can I trust certain people? Should I invest with certain people? Should I do background checks? The challenges are different. When you have an employee that does not do what they're supposed to do, should I fire them? You see how different that is when you start. When you start, it's just, hey, let me make some money. But when you get to a point where maybe now you're hiring on and you're bringing on people, you have to not only protect yourself, you have to protect the company, because it's also taking care of other people. So the challenges change in business. It's just understanding where you are and tackling that challenge. I do believe that in the future, my challenge now is going to be different from the future.
Yeah, that's true. That's very well noted. Thank you. I'm going to go to you, Ellen. Just because, how long have you been here? Almost 3 years. Almost 3 years old. And she's doing all that she's doing. I keep emphasizing, because I want to encourage you that you can, that all of us, everybody, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. So, Ellen, I know that you're from the UK, so your circumstances are a little bit different in terms of coming over. Maybe access is a bit different as well. In any case, starting a business is starting a business. What was the process in you starting your business? Did you do a business plan? Did you have money in the bank? Did your parents send you money? Did you have a rich sugar daddy helping you? Well,
Okay. No sugar daddy.
no sugar daddy. What about a sugar D?
Have you? Right. So coming here and starting well, I didn't start all my businesses here. I had the study abroad in the UK. I
Yes, you
started
did.
that in the UK.
Yeah.
And also the British Council. But one thing I make sure is that as an entrepreneur, there could be times and seasons where you have nothing coming in. I think Abby mentioned that. You could go a whole year. So I needed to make sure that I have something to cater for my living expenses for at least 6 months. So I moved here with enough money. I calculated my rent and all that. So at least for the next 6 months, even if I do not make anything, I need to have this to support me. So I had that. And then also getting here with the resources and access to things. It's a new country. In the UK, I know where to go to get what. I know even the backdoor people and the black market guys. But here, I don't know anything. And so I had to get into digging and research, but also putting myself out there to networking events. I see someone, I research about something business strategy thing, I am there. You'll find me there. Sometimes I'll just sit in the corner and listen. They'll share resources like Agapi did last night. And I would go back home or I record it whilst you're doing that research, how to register my business here, how to have access to all these funding, and also to secure maybe something as a black woman. One thing I know is that when it comes to North America, there's this black guilt because of slavery and all that. You're quite guilty. So they try to throw some things out there for black people and black entrepreneurs and black women. Like, I'm going to capitalize on that. I'm a black woman. So I researched into all these things, and then they had free training for black entrepreneurs, but for youth. And I didn't pass the age limit, but I said, listen, I am new here and I need to know this. And then I kept pushing and they let me in. So researching, networking is what got me to penetrate into the market.
To the market. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to come to you, Ian. Because you're a tax guy, you're a finance guy, starting a business takes money. You've registered business. So if one of the young people here or anybody here wants to start a business, what are the first steps in starting a business?
That's a good question. So I'm going to answer this question in two folds, okay? So to start a business, you don't necessarily need to register anything per se. You can start operating as a self-employed, sole proprietor, right? Which is just operating under your own business name. This is getting technical, right? You can also, if you want to,
I hope you're taking notes.
I hope you guys are taking
Yeah, I
notes.
hope you, because it's not on Zoom, so we're not recording this.
No.
Oh, they're live streaming it. Oh,
Free
okay.
game, all right? So, for example, when Junior was doing his shoe business and he bought a pair of sneakers for $60 and sold it for $100, he was operating as Junior Ofori. Any money that you earn based off of the tax law, if you're doing it for business, you're required to report it, right?
So on that note, how much can me, Ruth JB, earn without reporting it to the tax man?
Technically, none. So if you...
But my Caucasian friends
Yep.
told me, and this particular person has started multiple businesses because they said they can earn up to a certain amount without paying taxes.
So
That's the bit I want to know about.
I'm going to demystify that.
Oh,
People have a misconception. So you're allowed to earn up to $30,000
right.
without having to collect sales tax HST. But you still have to report your income to pay income tax. There are three different areas. The economy is based off of taking a percentage of everybody's economic production. So any money you make, technically you should be paying tax on.
So Ian,
Yes.
maybe Sanko Fono. No more into your tax.
Yeah.
So is it a good idea or not a good idea? Especially if we're new here and we want to start something. Can we do that until we get our 30 and then we start reporting after the 30?
Hey, listen, I won't say that on camera, but
A word to a
we
wise is
all,
enough.
All I will say is, we came from back home, which is a cash economy. So if you're making cash yet,
Okay.
it's under the table there. It's fine.
Streaming to mamu nje card, munje sikano.
Right now, but onto actually onto actually registering the business. Okay.
Okay.
Let's say you have an idea. Let's say you're testing an idea, right? Like Junior, when Junior first made his $100, I don't think he took that money right away and say, "Hey, I made $100. Let me go tell the government." So
No.
you test your idea, but then when you actually start adding structure to your business, then you can decide to register maybe an operating in a name. And registering an operating name can still be operating as a sole proprietor. Then you have registering your business as a corporation. And this is where you decide that, that the business is a great idea and you want to tap into the system. And so I'm going to explain the benefit of a corporation very quickly in a very short way, okay? So if you earn $100,000 as a sole proprietor under your own name, your tax rate is on average, let's say about anywhere between 27 to 35%. If you earn your first $500,000 as a corporation, as a controlled CCPC, your tax rate is about 9% in Ontario. That is a massive amount of savings.
So, bohobium.
If you open your business in your first $500,000 in Ontario, your tax rate on your first $500,000 is about 9%.
If you open it as a corporation.
In corporation.
Okay.
And so there's a massive amount of savings because the goal is to incentivize your structure to be able to create value and more jobs. And then that's going to turn into a new tax base for the government. And so they're very excited about incentivizing businesses.
Okay.
One last thing to add. I'm just testing the audience here because I know some are new to Canada as well. And so opening your business as a non-resident is allowed. However, there are different components. And so I would recommend if you have someone that you can trust that is a resident, you may want to bring them onto your business to start off at the beginning until you get that residency status. And so you can enjoy the same tax benefits at 9%. Otherwise, you'll be paying closer to the 27, 35%.
Okay.
Okay?
Did we all get that? So I want to start a business. What do I do? Where do I register it?
So, like Ellen mentioned, if you do want to start a business, first place you may want to go is Google. Don't ask Ellen, she'll be frustrated. So go on Google and just type in registering a business. It can be a little bit confusing, but you would just go on to either Business Ontario Registry, which is where you can register the business in Ontario. You can also go to other sites to get information on that. My best advice is to seek help from a professional that can help guide you through the application because some of those things are legally binding. So you also may want to get that extra help, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I started a business when I came to Canada. And I also went to Mr. Google. And then afterwards, I went to Elder Jetua. So Elder Jetua can also help you. However, you can also go to Service Ontario, and they will help you. And before you go and register a name, make sure that that name is not already registered anywhere. So usually there's I don't remember the name, but there's an organization that you have to send at least 3 names for them to check. What is it called?
Nuance report.
Nuance, that's it. So you need to get a nuance report. You need to, let's say you want to start, I don't know, a shoe business. You want to call it Joe Blogg's shoes, Ofori shoes, or walking in the air shoes. Those are the three different names. You need to send it to the new one's company. It's not very expensive. It's like 59, less than 100, 149 pounds, dollars, I think. Not pounds, dollars. And they'll check it. And they'll send you a report that the names are okay and you can use it. Before you go to Service Canada or you go online, you can easily go online and fill out the forms, take it to Service Canada. They'll go through with it and make sure that everything's okay and your business is registered and you're ready to go. At this point, I want to pause for a second, a couple of minutes, and ask if anybody has any questions, because I don't want you to forget your questions. At this point in time, anybody have questions? I have one question with, is that Pastor Andrews? Okay. Pastor, do you want to use the mic, or you can stand and be loud?
Thank you. I started a business back home in Ghana, and it's advertising. But one of the mistakes that I made was not having a plan in place. And so when I left for school, as I speak right now, you log into Jaffa Company Limited, Google will lead you to the location, but everything is messed up. And so as you're educating us, what are some of the mistakes that we have to avoid so that we'll not mess up, and whatever investment that we put into business, we'll still have it? Thank you.
That's a good question.
Very. So I think that he was saying that he didn't have a business plan. Is that what you're saying? And because of that reason, when you traveled, things didn't work out as they should have. Okay. May I please ask you to?
I also would like.
Yeah. Can we? Yeah.
Can I?
Go ahead, please.
Okay, so that's a really good question, and I think piggybacking off of my brother Junior here is that the problems that you have when you started may not be the same problems that you're experiencing today, and so I'm going to try to answer this in a way, especially for my young people. This is very important on what to do. So your first thing, and Junior, you can piggyback in if you want to, is to be able to find a way to first test your idea as quickly as possible, as cheap as possible.
So, what does it mean to test? I know Junior talked about he bought the trainers, $160, and then he sold you for $100. So what does testing your idea mean? Anybody can answer that.
In tech, they usually call that like a beta.
A
In-
beta.
In the tech industry, they call it a beta. So what
A
happens?
beta or a beta?
Like a beta.
A beta.
Beta testing, right? So when you get into a business, I think sometimes people overcomplicate it because now business is looked at as glamorous and it's something very exciting. But business in its simplest form is providing a service and providing value. If you're not providing any value, you don't have a business. If you've registered a business and you don't have a customer, you don't have a business. None of that stuff matters if you don't have a customer. You need to figure out how to get to the customer first. If you figure out the customer, everything else can be ironed out. And there's a big difference between being financially literate and being financially informed. Financially informed just means you understand the jargon, you understand the lingo, but you don't understand the rules. There's rules to finance and there's rules to building. If you're gonna go out right now and let's just say your profit margin is a certain number, but you know if you invest too much, you can break your business and maybe hurt yourself. Do you think that's a smart idea? Even if there's a risk? No, it might make sense to build a little bit slower so you could get there eventually than do it right away. Sometimes it works. Sometimes people might take that risk and they might say, hey, you know what, I will invest $50,000 into this thing and it might pay me back $250,000. It might work for you, but what if it doesn't? And this is the difference between being financially informed versus financially literate. You might understand your numbers. Sometimes I talk to a lot of young entrepreneurs and they'll give me the numbers all day. Oh, if I do this, if I sell this much, and I have a 10% conversion rate, I'm gonna do this. But you don't know that. What if it doesn't work?
That's the test.
Exactly.
How do you do that, though?
You test it small.
So
If you put one and it turns in, see, you want to know, everybody wants to know what I did with the sneakers
Yes.
after I got the first? You want to know what I did with the 100?
What did you do?
I bought two.
Yes.
Now I already knew I had a market. I knew I had a customer.
You
and
had
I
one
knew I had
customer, though.
that one customer is a referral.
Right.
If I
okay.
learned how to work it, now it's a referral.
That's it.
What did he do? He went to go tell his friends. So you want to know what I needed? I needed 3 now. So I went to go work a job, get extra money, and I bought more shoes.
there you go.
I know Abigail wanted to step in with a testing question.
So when it comes to testing, what I would say is when talking about using free resources, we have social media now. I don't want to say that because you open up an Instagram page, now you're a business. No, that's not what it is. But you can use social media to help you test. I've done that so many times. My first business, Beauty and Brushes, we had over 139 followers, 139,000 followers. We tested the market to see which Black women are looking for makeup artists and hairstylists. We tested it. We did like a web version of our mobile app and stuff, and we seen the response back. Going back to your point about mistakes when you're doing your business and stuff, I'll be honest, the mistake that we made in that sense was not putting enough money when we had the when we had the customers at that moment. And why I say that is because we had the platform, we did the testing, we had the customers, but now it's like, are we gonna put our money where our mouth is right now? We had what we needed to at that moment. If we actually thought smarter and invested the money that we needed to be, it'd be a different platform today.
Right.
So I'm saying that it's about timing, like you guys say. Testing is definitely one thing, but when it comes time to execute, guys.
Right. Thank you. I know you have a question. The pastor, was your question answered?
Let me.
Not fully.
Can I?
Okay.
I wanted to say.
I'm hearing that you did a business plan. Oh, you didn't have a business.
have a business.
So, okay. So what do we need to do so that we don't make mistakes or don't fail? Which we're going to come to as we go along. But you want to speak into that quickly?
I wanted to say something. So I feel like every business sort of needs about 2 years to be on a feet. And you need a very strong pillar outside of yourself. So I do more things, but I know that in my study abroad, I have a partner and I have an assistant. I have trained them in such a way that the business will function without me. So you have to put those structures in place and you need to trust somebody. If you don't have that, you can't leave your business. It's going to fail without you. So do not center the business around you, but have other pillars that will support or make it work without you.
Okay, that's one. Gina, give me one.
There's a difference between being a business owner and being self-employed. Sometimes, if you are the only one running it, you're self-employed, you are not a business owner. But if you create a business that can move without you, then you actually have a business. And that's the difference in terms of mindset.
So again, you're similar to what Ellen is saying. Have a group around you, have a team around you. Okay, do you have one thing for me, Ian?
Yeah. So, in regards to the business plan aspect, businesses don't always start with a business plan. You can do a business plan. I think it's a great idea to do one, just to make sure that you're taking time to think everything through and you've thought as much as you can. But what you really need to do to ensure that you don't make any mistakes is get a direct response to what you're doing very quickly. Once you get a first direct response, make notes on what that response is and then continue to iterate. And then that way you'll be able to figure out, like when you get to Abby's level where the business has all the attention you need to execute, it's at that time that you've proven your test and then you take off. But because things are always changing in this new environment, the old way of trying to figure out how to build business is not as functional as it is like in today's world. So that's the reason why testing as quickly as possible and as cheap as possible, and then doubling down on that when you see that growth will continue to get you the results you need.
Thank you. Do we get the answer now? Perfect. You have a question?
Hello. As a new immigrant, right? Are there some kind of available resources or the funding where you could go in for to help
Can
you
I
to?
stick a pin in that? We're going to come to it in the next phases. Are there any questions regarding starting the business? I want to do it in section by section. We have Uncle Mike.
Pacho, Muslim,
Can a hunter? Mobi anti a hunter. Oh, and a Moses.
Oh, okay. No, this it's and yeah, it drew her me country.
black people, we don't patronize ourselves. There's a reason. And I'm, like Michael said, I share this. If you stay within your community, you'll be poor. Number one. Number two, if you stay within the Adventist community, you'll be even poorer. Honestly, you all know we do the counseling. And we don't charge, we help people. But I'm telling you that we were in debt by 50,000 last year because people said, oh, Minyasika Metia. So we know that they need help, and we help them. And now we're chasing them for money, which is why I need you, Ian. I need somebody to go and give them the letters. They know, they've switched off their phone. And these are people within our community. So what do we do? Because we want to help our community. All of you said, I started because I want to help. But your community, we talked about Indian people. They are working hard. Chinese people, they're helping. What answer, please?
So networking,
yes,
yeah?
networking.
So networking is one thing that everybody needs. Talking about being in your community now, personally, there are some things, I have my limits. Like my study abroad agency, I've told some people here in the church, because there are some things, your reputation is very important. I would rather, some businesses, and yes, Sikabiana, you would take it. Some businesses, I would rather do it with somebody else than do it here and ruin my name. There's that. Stepping out of your community helps a lot because networking has gotten me to places. Like the lady who spoke last night, she's the chair of Amnesty International. I mean, Amnesty International can step in if your visa and stuff, but she's a connection to me now because I met her with Auntie Ruth at a very high-profile event with the Senator of Ontario. We just saw the thing, and then we were like, oh, let's go. So when you go to these seminars, some are free, some you have to pay. Invest in your networking because your network is your net worth. So the people that you know, don't be shy. Build your LinkedIn profile. Take people's contacts. Send a message. Hi, it was lovely to meet you. I'm looking forward to chatting more. Just drop it there. Maybe I won't respond, but as you build that network, it gets you outside your community, and that is where the market is. As Auntie Ru has said, Ahankwadia is too little, and it could ruin your reputation. Don't take that money. Step out. Just allow yourself to fly. I would say that.
Thank you. It could ruin your reputation, depending on who you're working with. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was in England, I used to do a side business because I love weddings. I used to do wedding planning. When I came here, some of you know that I was doing wedding planning. I was working with Vivian for a little bit. Then I stopped. I said, Vivian, if I continue to do this, I'm going to ruin my reputation. I'm going to ruin my counseling business because these same people at the weddings that, excuse me to say, you're sending invitation. The whole world is invited to our weddings. Yeah, about weddings is why we don't have seats. And then we are being told, we, the organizers, I'm sorry. And then you go and tell somebody to stand, then they did what them. And you will also sometimes want to, try your crotchet prowess. And then you've ruined yourself, right? So I had to stop doing that. I didn't know. So sometimes you have to, like Ellen said, know who your people are and know whether you have the akukudro to stand up, do your crotchet powers. If you can't now, then you need to put it to one side and do something else. Junior, networking. How do we help? The question is, our community.
Right. So if you're really serious about networking, you should probably get Popularity as a Sport.
Get the book. Launches next week.
Yes, it actually launches now, but when it comes to networking, the first thing I would ask really is, who are you? Having a brand is important, and where you display this brand is very, very necessary. Going outside of the community means if somebody sees you and they ask you who you are you? What do you do? How can you help me? If you're qualified, you're qualified. I think sometimes we overthink the whole aspect of it. And what Ellen said is very important. When you're going out to these networking events, the reason why I said Popularity is a sport, because when I would go to networking events, it's a game. How many people can I meet? How many numbers can I collect? And after I collect those numbers, I call you for coffee. I call you to check up. I see how you are. The first thing you need to check sometimes is look in the mirror. If you are a good person, people will help you. It's not that difficult sometimes. So that's the thing it is a job in itself to network, but you have to take it seriously.
And let me just, for the Adventist's sake, when we say go for coffee, and just a konum coffee,
Yeah.
okay? You can
Yeah, you
drink
can have
water,
tea.
you can have tea, you can have hot chocolate. I'm just putting it out there just in case we'll be say, hey, and coffee. So it's just a case of let us get together. Whichever way possible, let's get together. Buy a booster juice. I don't care. Get something and meet somebody. Thank you. Ian.
Networking, I'm going to take a different approach and add, like everything they're saying, I'll probably echo it. So I'm going to add some practical steps of things that I did when I started learning how to network. I wasn't always a good person. I wasn't really always a great networker. I actually had to learn the skill, and I actually started doing so with challenges. So here are keys to opening somebody and doing it with charismatic energy. There's a magic question you can ask everybody that you meet.
Write this down.
And the magic question is, how are you? And it sounds so simple. But once you open that question, you've already engaged in the game of networking. You've started. The game is on. And now there are a few steps that you can do to ensure that when you come out with a W. Number one, the easiest way to get somebody to smile is to smile at them. So when you say, how are you, do so with a smile. Number two.
Three.
Oh, number three, I guess. Okay.
How are you?
You got me?
Smile.
There you go. Number three, when you ask somebody how are they, the secret to that is that most people, when you ask them, will ask you in reply back. And it's when they ask you in reply back when you have the opportunity to take it to the next level. When somebody asks you how you are doing and you are trying to network and you are trying to build business, you don't have to be the highest person in the room. You just have to be better than good. When I ask you how you're doing, you will naturally reply, I am good. It's an automatic response. It's not intentional. Be intentional. Tell somebody that you are doing blessed. Tell somebody that you are doing amazing. Communicate subconsciously very positive emotions because people indirectly correlate that with success. Very, very, very important to understand, okay? The next thing you do when you ask somebody, how are you, always do so with what? A smile, and always do so with reaching out and shaking their hand. Why? Because the easiest way to build trust is through touch. If somebody's hands are sweaty, you won't enjoy the experience. So if you grab their hand and smile and say, hey, I'm doing well, blah, 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 you've now opened the door to engage in the conversation. The last secret, and this is it, you always lead and control a conversation by starting and asking questions. If you are the one asking the question and you're doing most of the listening, you have successfully engaged in the game of networking. It doesn't matter where you go, whether it's in a bus stop, a coffee shop, or a grocery store. If you see somebody say, hey, how are you doing today? They're gonna be like, I'm doing good. How are you? I'm doing amazing. Thanks for asking. Right off the bat, in their brain, you've just released something that you have no idea what you did. So when I learned to network, I would literally get up, get on the bus, and go to the mall. And my goal was to say hi to 50 people the day of that I've never met before. Literally. And just in the most random areas. I was standing there in H&M looking at a pair of pants. Someone standing next to me. And it was just quiet for a bit. I'm like, hey, how you doing? He's like, I'm doing great. I'm like, how are you? I'm doing phenomenal. He asked me why I'm doing phenomenal. I said, well, you know, it's a beautiful day. I'm living the dream. It's like, okay, cool. That was it. And that's your first step towards networking. That's literally it. It's that simple. We overcomplicate it sometimes. We forget that we're just human, and we need to bring it back to just being human.
Thank you. I want to add some to that. Because it's our community, there's the cultural knowledge or nuance that we don't look people in the eyes. It's disrespectful. Okay? In this country, when you don't look people in the eyes, you've got something to hide. So let's practice shaking hands and looking people in the eyes. Number 2, I learned this recently. Somebody on TikTok, I think it was TikTok, said, don't say, my name is. Say, I am. When you meet somebody, hi, I'm Ruth. It commands confidence, right? So these are little soft skills that we have to learn, that we don't just go and everything prepare. Practice, practice, look in the mirror, repeat the things that you want to do. Little conversation starters, something that my kids do very well. And my son, he's also shy like me, but he's very good at telling people, oh, I like your outfit. Oh, I love your hair. Oh, wow, your makeup is done so well. Those shoes are great. Where did you get them? They're simple things, and you think, oh, it doesn't mean anything. But who doesn't want to be complimented, apart from Ruth? Everybody wants to be complimented, right? And they accept it. They start smiling. Right away, you're engaged. Abby, anything to add to the networking question?
I think the key thing here is also understanding when you're going to networking events, don't just look at what you can get from other people. What could you bring as well? What value can you bring? And why I say this is that it's important for me. I was a big person of just going online and finding a networking event. It didn't have to be Black people. It didn't have, I would go to a room full of Asians. I did not care. It doesn't matter. If I'm going there to learn something, I'm gonna go learn something. But when you're going in that room, remember your value. And why I say this is because as Ian was talking about asking the questions and whatnot, they're gonna come back to you. And when they're asking you the questions in return, you always wanna do something where it's okay, based off of what they're looking for or what they do, how can I bring value to this person? Yes. Because as much as you're trying to collect numbers, you want people to collect your number so they can call you, be like, oh wow, that person that I spoke to, she was so interesting. I want her number. I want to start calling her. I'm gonna say this as an example for all of us Black people here right now. For example, my real estate brokers I used to work with was with a Greece man and a white man. Very, very wealthy, smart people. They realized what I was doing in the community in terms of educating Black people and all that good stuff. Once they seen that, they're like, oh, Abby, very interesting. I want to start working with you. Why? Because they seen that I had a demand. They seen that I was able to get a lot of Black people around me, and you guys are willing to buy property now. So they wanted to use me as their gateway to get more things. So for them, they see value in me because it's I'm with them on the corporate level, yes, but when I come back to my community, I'm here with you guys here today. If they knew that, they'd be like, oh wow, Abby, you're in a room full of all these people? We can get sales through you. And that's what it is. So you have to remember, you also have value in yourself too. Position yourself to know that, yes, I carry value. Just because you're looking at a white man that's wealthy and whatnot doesn't mean that you also don't have the same type of value that he has. Know your worth. So when you go talk to people, they know, okay, I want to come back and talk to this person. This person knows what they're doing as well too. That's why I think network is important.
Amazing. So networking is very important. It is the heart of your business. If you're shy, get out of yourself. Get out of the way. Get out of your way and just push through. It's very important. Go with somebody. Ellen is suggesting, go with somebody. This year, that's my goal. I told Ellen at the beginning of the year, Ruth is very shy, but she has to be out there with the bosses and dress up. Don't go in your jeans, please. There's some places you can go in your jeans, but there's some places, dress to impress. Sometimes you have to do that for them to know, say, you are somebody. So don't go with, these are little things. Is there a question here? Okay. As he's preparing for the question, my next question would be soft skills. There are soft skills. How can we leverage our soft skills to get into business?
So I just wanted to add about we can even start from the church, right? Sometimes we give some leadership positions to you in the church and you say no, right? So all those things that you will start from the church, back home, what you were doing back home in churches, it starts from there. So once you always associate yourself, engaging activities in the church, it will help you to build your self-confidence, and through that, whilst doing the networking, it also leads the way. Thank you.
I'm just going to add to that point. I think that's very important. Why I say this is because I was going to Church of Pentecost. I was a youth ministry leader there and a drama ministry leader there. The reason why a lot of people trust me as well is because they see my ability to organize people and manage people. I have a background in HR, so I knew how to do that. But when it came to like organizing events, every time I would have an event, the room was full. All the time, because they knew that when Abby is doing an event, I want to be there as well too. So I had that position.
We need to raise money here. Can we?
So it's important to start with what you have right in front of you. I didn't know that those skills are going to help me in the future, but when people are looking at me, oh yeah, that makes sense. You being a business owner makes sense. You're always you're always that ambitious girl. So don't take away from, oh, I just need to do it outside. If you have your community here, start here. I understand when he was talking about, okay, when you're working with Ghanaians, sometimes they don't want to pay fully and all that good stuff. I get it. Trust me, it's not the easiest thing to do. But sometimes you also learn a lot from being in your community yourself. That testing ground, this is it. This is it as well, too.
I have an answer.
Quite a lot. And only Ghana for Delia, only Ghana for Delia, right? Obi awo your business be so so your expectations and how are you on Yama. And this that may be some might say, oh, shop one people don't come and braid their hair and leave. Me what? Or when it's you say, me kobomiti, it three might some bow by Jimmy say, we me out by Jimmy say, right? When as soon as I would establish rules be in place. Now, what kind of counseling? I say, Mama Ruth said, we are counselor, and I said, we'll be sure about how I counseling. This is all discussed prior. And intimate because I bet now we are, Ukofi, we are no more, so which I can't say. Mike, mom, we have taxes, you know. So, me call Nigeria, and when I'm going to tax them, you know, but Jim's kind of her. And Sana was send it. Maybe what this can go behind tax them. Establish the same type of rules everywhere. So, who about yourself, who make you room, say, may they pay clients in tea, Ibianum, and Sana, I say, I do MCs for people. At church, and I'll do it for free for people because I chose to do that. Yeah. But I'm going to say, MC, scanning by, I don't even make it to your event. I'm telling you, who's Sunday scanning 250, next time I do 500, I'm do what? Now my J250 now can. And Sakwa na makojina ni mokra no kodin komo. And yes, me we are now. But that's what I'm saying. You know, say, say Ghana for Ghana. But most of them, they are Ghanaians. And they pay me the money when I go there. Yeah. You know, I think if you are with my ABN, I must start from home. Yeah. So, my job be ya. Who say be ya? Can't say omo amba hopa. Ghana for never does hopa. Omo amo to grocery store. Ghana for does be. You get other clients, but Ghana for no matter say no. Omo so no man can some papa or shop no one. You get more referrals to your business. In this aya na yam fine. No can say networking. Break it with everybody, but make sure say we fear for no so no. Omo you good, but set rules in place. So why we have business now set rules in place? That's a man buy me tax we. Say me coffee now Mercedes cannot brewa. You know I am tax mommy. Why tax ni we are? No I catch you say the ubenya you. So I say me this send to come out send me this much money. Mercedes can anko on sending call and mommy da. And that's how nana and Tino say you make sure that those rules are always put in place. And sana I can say one obey and one chia. Why am I not corner one chia? What about next year? Not one chia. The following year, no, what they'll come back 3 years, and you keep doing it for them. Why would they learn?
Yeah.
And to add to his wisdom, I mean, like what he's saying makes sense. It's true. It's not only Ghanaian community that does this. Everybody, every community has these things, right? And so, adding to what Junior originally said before is that as you start and you go in business, different areas and different years or different seasons of business have different problems. If you're starting off right at the beginning, you may have this issue until you put a system in place that protects you from having that issue, right? And so thank you very much for adding that. We appreciate it.
Yeah, very important. And again, because we are Christians, sometimes we have this, and I have to say that was our problem, is we're Christians, we want to help our people. Our job is a ministry. We did that for a long time, and then it was like, come on. I've seen these same Christian people buying Gucci shoes. They're not poor, but they come and tell me, say they're poor. And me, because I'm a PK, I want to help. But I've stopped that. It's taught me a good lesson.
Even the church conference,
Oh, I'm done. We prepare.
at some point, we are contributing to the school now.
Yeah.
It's a business.
Yeah.
I was there last week to collect books.
Yes.
Because my wife said, books the pastor and prayer authorized there. Then you just can move your partner, you have to call it because they are running like business.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm here and I'm
Okay, thank you. I'm seeing the time is going. These are great conversations. We may need a part two, but I want us to move on. A couple of questions, if I may, around soft skills.
So with soft skills, I like the story Abby mentioned. She mentioned a different angle of it, talking about getting involved in the church, being able to do drama ministry, and her being organized and bringing all these people out. On the backside of that, though, there's a soft skill that is required to be able to do those type of things, which is creativity. So soft skills come in all different shapes and forms and sizes. Networking is a soft skill. Maybe time management is a soft skill. Coaching, all these different things are all soft skills. And I'm a big believer, especially for young people, when you start off in any business, once you get in a good idea and you push the idea, nobody knows who you are. Nobody understands your brand. Nobody trusts you at any really high level. And so your soft skills and your ability to do customer service is literally your first battlefield. You will always win on customer service. You will always win on your soft skills when you're starting your business because you don't have anything else to stand on, right? And so mastering these soft skills as we get into this conversation is extremely, extremely important. And I don't know if you have any direct questions, but I just wanted to help segue that into
No, that's great. I think, Ellen, you have a contribution to that?
Yes. As a business owner, you need to know how to leverage your soft skills to your advantage. And one thing is time management. Time management is self-management. If you cannot manage your time, you can't manage yourself. And as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to manage yourself and be disciplined. One thing, and then you also need to know yourself. So I know that I am very compassionate to the point that I took a course in resume building and all that, just so I can do people's church people's resume for them. So also piggybacking off doing things for free for people, I am compassionate. How can I use that to my advantage as a business owner? Back in 2023, University of Ottawa was giving a scholarship to English-speaking Africans, and I knew that. So we went to a village in Bekwai, and we spoke to the headmaster. My assistant did that, and then for every student who had a good grade, maybe a couple of A's, we did their school for them. We paid for everything. The only thing we did not pay for was their flight. So we did everything from head to toe. Some of the new international students who came here were my client, but I told them, don't tell anybody I brought you here. So we did that. And then after that, my business boomed because now they are here. Their family members will contact, how did you get to abroad? And then, this lady helped me. And that gave me much more business than I could imagine. I thought I was just giving back to community. They have scholarship. Their parents are poor. Let's bring them. But it helped me. Also with the hair as well. I'll do products. I'll do shampoo or a cream for somebody. Like, it was really good. Can you make more for me? Well, now I'm going to charge for it. So that soft skill, I leverage that to advertise my business. So know your soft skill and leverage it.
Okay. Great. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, Ian mentioned something that was very important. He mentioned customer service. customer service is very, very important. And just to go a step further, if you really want to have a good business, you want to also have customer experience, which is a step further than customer service itself. Dealing with the customer is simple, but it's that experience that's going to guarantee that they're going to refer somebody that's going to help you actually grow your business. We're also talking about networking. I do want to reference my book on the art of having conversations. I want to talk about HBCU. When I'm having a conversation with people, I usually use this method called HBCU if I don't have any common ground.
If you can't
to
write
start
it
a
down, buy the
conversation.
book.
Yeah. So the H stands for home. I usually ask somebody, hey, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? Where you live? Who do you live with? All of those open-ended questions to consistently keep the conversation going. The second thing I'll do is we'll go into business. Business work. What do you do for work? What do you do for business? How long have you been doing that? Do you enjoy that? Are you looking at going into another sector? Then we go into that conversation. That conversation could sometimes 15 minutes long on just that alone. Then we go into church. If you and somebody share the same faith, you've won. You've won. Now we could go into faith. Now we could talk faith. But if you don't share the same faith, it's time to listen. It's time to learn. Maybe I can learn something about you, and maybe I can share something about myself. And that's always a great place to bond. And then the last thing is university, where you went to school. Where you went to school, what did you take? Did you ever use your course? Are you still involved in any activities from post-secondary? All of those things. Those skills help in conversation. If you could do HBCU, no matter where you go, you could start a conversation with anybody.
Amazing. Thank you. Question. What role does mentorship play in your business? How can mentorship help you?
Really a good question. Mentorship is so important. And why I say this is because when I first started my business, I didn't feel like I had someone that looked like me that was teaching me what I needed to learn at the time. So what I had to do was get out of my comfort zone and go find mentors that didn't look like me, but still find a way to relate with them. My mentor for a long time was an older Indian man. And it sounds like, okay, what is this older Indian man and a young black woman? But he was the only man when I went to the conferences that actually looked at me as if I was a human. The only person. And he helped me so much in so many different areas. And I listened. And there was even a language barrier. He didn't speak the greatest English, but I sat there, I looked in his eyes, and I said, okay, I'm going to understand what he's saying. And it was important. And he's seen my dedication, and he's seen what I was doing. And another thing about mentorship I'm going to say is that people will come to me on TikTok, DM, and ask me, Abby, can you be my mentor? No problem. I love helping people out. But if a mentor is asking you to do something, do it, guys. It's time that they're wasting, but they're doing it because they want to invest in you. So if you go ask for mentorship and they tell you to do X, Y, and Z and you don't do it, that's on you now. You made the mistake because somebody's willing to help you, but you're not helping yourself. If you can't help yourself, then there's nothing anyone can do for you. So make sure that if you're looking for a mentor when you're doing anything for business, do the work and more. And try to see, and I'm gonna go back, try to understand that you still also have value to bring to that person in itself. Even if you're the mentee, you can still bring value to the mentor. Do that. Because afterwards, when you're doing that, you're investing in each other. That person's gonna wanna pour in you as well. The same way my mentor, when he was mentoring me basically, I was bringing him clients. So he had no problem me calling to ask questions because he knew, oh yeah, when I needed some investors and stuff, I'm like, yep, I'm gonna reach out into my community and I'll get it for you. And I was doing that always. So when I called him, he had no problem. So that's what I would say when it comes to mentorship.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you all different questions just because of time. Ian, I'm going to ask you, Ellen, I'm going to ask you about collaboration and partnerships. How important is it, number one? Number two, is it a good idea? Partnerships, collaborations in business.
I think it's very great. It could be great, it could not be great. you need to know your strength. Like, as I said at the beginning, I know that I am not that patient. So I bring somebody on board who is patient. So it balances me out. And so collaborating with people, and I can't just say back for a year, a very dry, big or something like that. Help me.
What did you say?
One person, if one person tries to do all that by yourself, you end up losing it. So bring somebody on board when you know you can't do all of it. But if you know you can, try and push yourself. Some people will come on board and they might just pull you back or what. So know who you're partnering with or who you're bringing on board. But also surround yourself with people who believe in you. One thing that helped me thrive was my girls back in the UK. We are all wanting to get into business. So we meet on every Thursday. They're like, how can I support you? What are you struggling with? And they might not necessarily do the same thing as you're doing, but just because they're there for you. And if you don't know, Abigail is my new partner in mortgage, and I love working with her. Abigail believes that we all have to win. She's not in a competition with you. I love her energy because that's how my girls are. Okay, we're here for each other. How can I support you? How can I help you get where you want to get to? So we step on each other's back and get where we want to get to. So it's very, very important.
Love
Thank
that.
you. Question for Ian. Ian, how do you balance entrepreneurship with family, with a new wife, with church commitments, with your own business, with personal life? How do you balance? Because it's important to have a work-life balance. So how do you navigate that?
This is a great question. I'm still learning. I'll be honest, I'm still learning. But some keys to success in terms of balancing that is sticking to as best as you can to a schedule. My wife and I will take time to allocate the non-negotiable time.
She's the wife, by
I'm
the way.
by the way.
So my wife and I, now the cat's out the bag, right? My wife and I will take time to negotiate non-negotiable time. To make it simple so it's not so complicated is that at the end of the day, you'll be aiming and working to make money from now until the day that you go. It's just what you're going to be doing in some form and fashion, whether you're trading time for money, whether you're building a business, whether you have enough money that your money makes money for you, you'll always be doing so, all right? So find time to schedule in those non-negotiable times around your family, the anchoring moments that you don't let that, like, beautiful moments, like, wither away, essentially. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Good, thank you. And if you have children, make sure you spend some time with the children, right?
Very important.
Very important. Okay,
Triplets.
my next question. I have two, and I don't know. I have two. I want to ask this question: that how do you, because we're all Christians here, how does your faith play in your decision making, your values, your ethics as you do business? How does that play in?
Okay, I'll start on this one, because this is a big one for me. Why I think it's a big one is because I grew up in the faith, and I think that sometimes we try to separate business from your Christianity or your faith, and it's not the truth at all. I learned this in 2019, is that your ministry, your business in itself is your ministry too. Why I say this is because anywhere that I go, I always let people know that the reason why I'm successful in my business is because of God and God alone. And I will let that be known everywhere I go. People are like, oh my God, you're doing so well. I can't believe it. I'm like, yeah, it's because of God. What I have today, why I'm here, why I'm standing here today is because of God alone. Because there's so many things that I could do to try to be like, you know what? Let me forget about my Christianity and let me just do it to make the money. And it's like something God will be like, you know what, Abby? Don't even do that. Don't touch that. A bigger blessing is coming your way.
Amen.
And a bigger thing that I always say is that I always pray this prayer is that God bless me so I can be a blessing for other people.
Yes.
I think that sometimes we, as even being ambitious, we want to chase the money and everything, but it's like we're forgetting that at the end of the day, we also need to give back. We were called here to be vessels, and we want to give back to people. So when I'm educating people, when I'm educating my community, I'm thinking about the fact that, like, you guys are also God's children too. I should be helping you because we're all brothers and sisters in Christ. At the end of the day, when we all go, we're going to the same place, God willing. So why won't I help my brother and sister in Christ while I'm here? So make that your anchor always.
Thank you. I'm going to take a couple more questions from the audience, just two, and then we'll have our final question. But as we're looking, oh, good, the young person over there. That faith question, it's so important because it speaks to who you are. When Michael spoke about people doing dodgy stuff, you have to remember, sir, if you've already said you're a Christian, your customers are looking at you how you're doing business as well. So it's really important. You know, Christianity is, to me, is not what we're reading, it's what we're doing. It's not about knocking on the door and giving the leaflet. It's your practical, you know, actions that shows that you're a Christian and bring people to you. So that question is also in my heart. You want to say?
I want to add to that.
Yeah.
To add to that is that the act of business in itself is synonymous with faith. It's about your belief, your ability to trust and not know the outcome is actually going to make you unstoppable. So when you start a business, you are acting in faith 100% of the way. You actually have no idea if it's going to work out. You don't have any concrete evidence that it's going to pan out. All you have is this belief and this burning desire, this energy that's coming into you, that's letting you to know, like, you know what, something's telling me to keep going. This is what needs to be done. And so because of that reason, that's kind of how business pans out to me when it comes in terms of faith. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I want to take some questions from the young people, and then we'll.
Before I speak, I just want to thank you guys for the time. Just honestly, I've seen and I've attended a bunch of these panel discussions where people will actually pay lots of money to sit here and get the insight these people are given. And like you said, it's given free game. I want to speak for the youth and go back to what something Abby said. It was about failure and how you said failure is a redirection. And for me personally, in my own experience, failure is one thing that I wasn't expecting in my life. I went through the entire school system, A levels, not trying too hard maybe, and then when I got to university, I'm like, oh wow, hey, they weren't playing with what they were saying. Like, so I want to say and ask you guys, before me, I see 4 young, Black, successful people, and so because I want to be that, what were the habits you cultivated while you were going through that failure? And how did you, I guess, when you were successful, realize that failure was necessary?
Thank you for the question. What habits did you cultivate during the failure season?
Well,
Free game. He's coming with bars. Yo, this guy's asking some serious questions.
That's some great questions. First things first, when it comes to the failure, it's how you look at it. Because life is all about perspective. If you look at it as a failure, like, oh, I'm done, I can't do anything after this is where most people get the process wrong. Failure is really just correction, like Abby said. And you only have to look at it as a lesson. Because once you fail, now you know what not to do. Because if you're going into a business and you're doing your business activities every single day, you don't know what to look for and what not to look for. That's just life. But it gets to a point where you need to focus more on who you become instead of the result itself. Who you become is what makes you do well in business. When you sit down with somebody who's seasoned in business, who's been around, they failed a lot. And those are the people that you want to kind of get close to, because they say a wise person learns from other people's mistakes. A smart person learns from his own. So you being young, you need to take advantage of the people who failed before you and listen to them. Really understand where they're coming from. You are in the sweetest spot right now. You said you're in post-secondary right now? Okay. So when you go back, take advantage of the networking opportunity. While you're in school, you can meet a new person on campus every single day if you want to. And I wrote this in my book talking about this. You need to focus on the fact that not only you're going to school and getting your education, but you're also building a network. Anything that you want to do can happen while you're in school. Take advantage of that.
Even to echo on that, I kind of built this theory looking back that even as something as simple as just being in high school, if you had the blessing to be clear on what you actually wanted to do, like let's say you go back to high school and said, grade 9, you knew you wanted to be an insurance agent. And from grade 9 all the way up till now, you kept banging that drum that you're going to be an insurance agent. You would have had the biggest network as an insurance agent that every single person at the time when they come of age will turn around and be like, oh yeah, so-and-so said he was in insurance. They would never, ever forget you. It's like a catapult, right? It's not everybody that gets the blessing to know early on what they want to do. But if you ever do get that opportunity, being in school is a hack. Like, being in that institution is the only single time in your life that you'll ever be in an environment that has that many people. It's crazy.
Anything on? Oh,
Failure?
there's another question? Okay.
Okay, I'll just make it quick. When it comes to failure, one thing I would say is listen to God. Why that's so important is because sometimes we'll go fail things that God never asked us to do in the first place. And he's looking at us like, but I told you to keep doing that. You went to go do this and went to go fail. And now you're crying. Whose fault is that? It's your own fault. So always remember, what's the last thing that God told you to do? Did you finish it? Did you complete it? Did God give you that check mark to say, yeah, go on to the next thing? And if he didn't, go back to what you're doing last, because there's a lesson in that. So you'll think that you're failing, but it's not that you're failing. It's just that you're not done with the last assignment that you're supposed to be doing at that moment. And you don't want to waste the timing, or you don't want to waste the lesson that God's giving you in that moment, because that's going to help you for your next step.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah, yeah.
Even so, if you miss that step, it could set you back 5 years where you're supposed to be here.
As we're talking about steps, I'm reminded of the lesson from Thomas Edison. I want to make sure I get this right. Thomas Edison, he's the guy that did the electricity, right? The light bulb. And he failed how many times? Or like 1,000. And so when the journalist asked him, how does it feel to fail 1,000 times? He said, I didn't fail. It just took me 999 steps, right? So I think you started by saying it's how you see it. Is it a failure or is it a lesson, right? So that's important for us to keep in mind. Do we have another question?
Yeah, I
Please,
want
go
to-
ahead.
So my question is like, how do you guys deal with competition, especially like when you're like entry level into like, you know, you're a beginner when it comes to business and stuff? Because, you know, when you get into that, business is a new world. Like there's already people that are already like top of the chain, like you're a beginner. So like, how do you deal with that type of competition?
Okay, so I would say that do not see that as a competition. See them as a learning tool, as a partner. Yeah, Abigail is very seasoned in mortgage. I'm very new. And so we're not competitors in any way. I can't. So know where you've fallen. Okay, what can I learn from this person? Rub shoulders with them. Offer your service to them so they can, you pour into them so they pour into you. So I think the word competition needs to be, you need to use another vocabulary. It's not competition. How can I learn from those who are seasoned in it? Just learn.
The road to 1,000 miles starts with one step. Got to start somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere.
And just to add to that, just because you're new doesn't mean that you're not going to do as well. I'm going to say this for a fact. My industry, being a real estate agent, I used to get on the phone with people that would tell me, yeah, I've been doing this for 30 years plus, or whatever the case is. And I'm like, okay, cool, that's great. We're in 2025 now. Times have changed. I'm going to be honest with you. Millennials and Gen Zs come to me because I'm relatable. I seen a problem in my industry and I solved it for people. Be solution oriented. Just because they had 30, no offense to anyone, just because you're seasoned doesn't mean that they're actually still doing well because they're not refreshing their skills. Refresh your skills always. So even coming in as a new person, sometimes you have actually more of an advantage than somebody that's old because it's like they don't want to learn new tricks. But here you're ready to absorb everything. I'm here, I'm like, okay, let me hear it. I can see I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do that. And I'm learning new ways to connect to other people. Don't look at it as it's a step down for you. You actually have advantage.
Amazing.
And
Thank
in
you.
regards to competition as well, oh no, yeah, I was gonna say in regards to competition, you definitely like to piggyback off of Ellen. You want to change that and focus more on collaboration. There's no such thing as real, true competition. Competition ultimately is kind of for losers. As you compete, you diminish profits, you diminish growth, right? And so there is a point where you can use like a competitive nature to help you get in one up and or advantage, but your secret weapon will actually be to collaborate, to find out how you can work with other people. Most of the world's wealth is already saturated in certain areas. We can't actually create much value except for collaborating with people who have money and positioning yourself to be able to be a support to them to grab more wealth, period. Right? Capitalist society's already dominated a lot of things. And so if you go in looking to compete, you will diminish profits.
I like that you say that. It reminds me of athletes. When they're running, they stay in their lane. As soon as they go into somebody's lane, what happens? They get disqualified, right? So if you are in your lane, doing your business, eyes focused on God, you're only going to win. You can look to your left, look to your right, and see who's coming. Oh, okay, you're coming. Me too, I'm going. Just stay within your lane and eyes focus on God, and you'll win it. And like they said, it's not competition, it's collaboration. Any more, thank
I
you.
have
Any
a
more
question.
questions
Yeah.
before?
Yeah, Abby, when you were talking earlier on, you said through Instagram. Oh, okay. So you said through Instagram, right? You were able to figure out what the people needed, but then you didn't invest. So did it mean that you didn't have the money? And if so, were you eligible for maybe a loan from the government or something to start a small business?
So that business of mine was what my earlier on in entrepreneurship, and we had the resources that we needed, but it wasn't. It goes back to partnering with the right people, because one person can have one way where like, you know what, yes, let's do this, but then if your partners are not on the same page as you, you're not aligned, then things can kind of go a different way. So I think it's very important for you to understand that who you're working with, who you're partnering with. There's not everyone you can do business with. Let's just be honest here. There's not everyone you can do business with. But then when you are aligned, make sure you guys understand what are the next steps. Okay, if we get here, what are we gonna do? Everyone needs to be on the same page, because then it's like, I can be an executor and that person may not be an executor, but at least they trust me when I'm doing that part of it. And I feel like understanding that there's different roles within your business, so you're not competing with each other within the business as well too. So when you know that you get to that certain level, you guys can actually push forward. So yeah.
And can I help, bro?
Okay, I'll answer that part, and you can get loans and stuff as well too. But like I said, it really depends on who you're working with. If your business partners are not for the loan, they're not gonna get the loan, because all three of you guys are on the business. Like, it's all really about being aligned. But there are funding and stuff, and the person that does grant writing and funding is gonna answer that.
So I am going to go into our final remarks so we know that we're wrapping up. So in our final remarks, everybody's going to have a different question. You have 1 minute to answer it. The funding stuff, we have to come back to it. So I'm going to start with you. Final remark. What advice would you give about funding, grants, what's available out there that we can look into? That's your question. Your question, Abby, is what advice would you give to a young female trying to get into business? Junior, your question is, what advice would you give your younger self if they were to start business again? Ellen, your question is, yesterday we heard about volunteer, 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 volunteer. In Ghana, I know after school you have to do national service. So it's part of our culture to give back. What one word do you want to say about volunteerism? So we start back and this way. Yes.
Okay, so one thing I would say is that delay is not denial, it's development. That is.
Say it again. Say it again.
Delay is not denial, it's development.
Okay. Delay is not denial. It's development. I like it.
And why I say that is that is my story completely. I wrote the second course for my real estate exam 12 times. I have all the receipts, literally. I gave it to my tax accountant. And it wasn't until God said, it's time, that the time happened for me. And when I look back, and during that, don't get me wrong, I can sit here and talk now more confidently because I passed the point. During that time, I was crying almost every day. I'm gonna be honest. And I'm not saying it to say that it's not easy. It's hard. It's hard to feel like, you know what, you're smart, you don't understand why it's not happening for you. But when I look back on everything that I learned during that time and how God was preparing me, I say thank God for making me fail. And if he had to make me fail 20 more times, I would go through that over again, without a doubt. Because it built up so much resilience in me. Seeing no doesn't even scare me anymore sometimes. It really doesn't. If you know me as a mortgage agent, even as a real estate agent, when I want something, I'm gonna get it. I'll call the lenders like 20 times and they'll be like, hey, like you're so annoying. And I'm like, yeah, I need something from my clients. So are you gonna get it done or not? And because of that resilience, everybody knows me. Like when I really want something, it's like, I'm gonna push for it. Because I know that when I keep going, consistency, I'm gonna get to that level that I need to get to.
Thank you.
So it's all about building.
So delay is not denial, it's development. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ian, I know that this is one topic I really wanted us to dwell on, but delay is not denial.
It's not denial.
Tell
it's
us
development.
It's development. Tell us about funding development.
So let's develop into the conversation.
Okay.
So what I would say is when it comes to funding and accessing money from this system, we'll call it a system, there are a few key pillars. Structure is the most important pillar. How you're structured, how your books are reporting, basically your income statement, your balance sheet, money coming in versus money going out, and what you own versus what you owe will tell your entire picture. That's the first thing. That will help you get access to money from the banks, lending, loans, etc. Okay? If you want to find more details, come see me. I'll talk to you about it. Now, in terms of grants are a little bit unique because grants aren't really made for you. And this is the biggest mental roadblock I have to help people get over. People say, hey, I started a barber shop. How come I can't get $100,000 grant from the government that I don't have to pay back to go cut hair? And the thing is that we're in a society, we're in an economy. Grants are geared towards helping Canada solve Canada's problems. So when we are coming in and we're thinking about building better, smarter businesses, especially for my young people as well, pay attention and align yourself with some of the issues that Canada is having. For example, 3 weeks ago, Canadian government came, they made a commitment that they're looking at doing a new African initiative. They're planning on investing $856 million over the next 10 years into different various African projects. That is a huge hurrah for us, massive. They're looking at investing in getting back into building better relationships with Ghana, specifically. There is research out there that they believe over the next 50 years, almost 30% of the world's population will immigrate to Africa because they understand that the Western world's style of doing things is starting to diminish. okay? So I'm just giving you these facts to understand that once you kind of get an idea of how the economy is going, then you can align yourself to get access to the funding. Your most important tool, this is practical, that annoying, boring, very number detailed federal budget that you see every year, read it. You will literally see exactly what the government is planning on spending money, and you can align yourself. If you had read it 4 or 5 years ago, you would have known that opening a daycare was one of the best things you could have done in the last 5 years. If you had read it 3, 4 years ago, you would have known that getting into a dentistry business, even if you are not a dentist, but finding the money to put together the syndicate and buying one was a brilliant idea because the government was about to come subsidize dentist money. And you're literally just aligning yourself to the wealth. This is extremely important, and I cannot echo that enough.
Thank you.
Delay.
Delay is not denial.
It
it's
is
development. Junior,
Wow, Ian.
what are you gonna tell
what we talk about every week.
5-year-old? What are you gonna tell 5-year-old Junior?
5-year-old Junior?
5-year-old Junior, because we gotta start as little as 5, right?
Wow.
Okay.
5-year-old Junior, I'll just tell him to keep having fun.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
Tell him to keep having fun.
18-year-old Junior after high school.
18-year-old Junior, I would tell him, think long term, but still operate with urgency. But think long term.
Think long term, but operate on emergency or
operate-
urgency.
or operate.
Operate on
urgency.
urgency. Okay, I like it. Because time is not your own. No.
10 years flies by very quick.
Yeah, university flies quick.
Yeah. All of the older people used to tell us, hey, it's going to come like this. Now look at us.
Thank you. Thank you. Ellen, you have the final word. Okay.
So I want to say something about volunteering. I know that Agapi said a lot last night, how it got here all the way to becoming the board chair of Amnesty International. But for the international students and the young people here, I want to say that giving back is very necessary. When you do not know where to start, go volunteer. Give your time. I got to work in the UN because I volunteered at university. So when the job came, my school sent the email to me directly because I had volunteered helping other students. It will get you into places. Inti okay jumaba, or factory job or anything else. Or Ghana, what were you doing? You don't know how to start it here. Ko bi ho na ko volunteer. So person oboti ko medu sa ho medu some person minim tibo. Go to hair salon, volunteer. Don't seek for any money. The next time they'll come, oh, some lady no me pena. That's your business. It starts there. Oh, you're a mechanic somewhere. Meant enough you share antenna. He said you don't know antenna. I hate that program. Very sure antenna. Your time, go somewhere to a mechanic shop. Oh, I used to do that back home, you know. Just go sit there, volunteering. In that way, you establish your connections. You can also build on it. So please, do not look down on volunteering. Give back in any way that you can possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I hope that you have been inspired. I hope that you have learned something. I hope that you're going away not the same as you came in this morning. Right? I know that there's socials later on this evening, but I think this is the longest time we've spent in an afternoon program because it's worth it. You know, if we had to pay these wonderful experts and industry entrepreneurs and all of that stuff, we'd be paying big money. We have to thank them that they've given a gift of their time. Like, you know, me, if I'm doing counseling, I'll charge $220. So I've been here how many hours? That's like, you know, $600, right? That's a discount. So thank you for the discount. Thank you for the gift of giving back. Thank you for sharing the knowledge. And I hope that you're not going to take it for granted. Let's spend the next few minutes socializing as we eat bullfruit. Thank you, whoever made the bullfruit. Let's talk. Please collect the numbers. I learned 2 weeks ago how to do the LinkedIn scanning. Go to QR code. Scan, scan, scan. Get their numbers and talk and get the information because they're here to help. Thank you. I want to pray for you all. May God bless you. May God bless your business. May God extend and expand your territories. May your pockets be so full that they are flowing, overflowing. And may you find husbands and wives if that's what you're looking for. And may I have my friend, Pastor Melchizedek, to pray for this evening's message. Thank you. Amen. Amen. Thank you all.